Thank you guys for having me. Apologize in advance, I'm getting over some bronchitis. Can you guys hear me if I'm like this? Is this loud enough? I'd rather kind of be near you guys. It's alright. Well, like you were saying, I am an economics teacher, teach finance and economics, and love studying theory on my own. I really get a kick out of it. I think so much of what our country is doing right now is wrong, and it's based off of a false philosophy, an incorrect philosophy. And basically, the reason I decided to run for office is I was, tired of sitting on my couch yelling at the TV and being irritated. Like many of you guys, I grew up a Republican. I've been a Republican my whole adult life until about 2 years ago, and I started reading some of the writings of Ron Paul, and I realized, you know what? I'm actually a Libertarian. I want smaller government than what Republicans do. Republicans say they want small government, but they vote like Democrats most of the time. And I realized I'm not that guy. I am a Libertarian. And what I started realizing is it's a lot like Albert Einstein. Okay, Albert Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. By that definition, American voters are certifiably insane. Okay? For decades, we have voted the same two parties in the office. Whenever we get sick of the Democrats, then the tide turns and we go to the Republicans. And then we get sick of them and people vote for the Democrats. And there's factions on both sides that never change, but the general, goes back and forth, the general elections. And really, it doesn't matter if we go from left to right or right to left. To me, I think that's the wrong discussion to have. I think what we need to look at is what's right and what's wrong. And that's the bottom line. And I think so often all we care about is what the letter behind someone's name is. Are they an R or a D? And I got to tell you guys right up front, because you're going to like a lot of what I have to say, but I've talked with enough people that eventually you're going to say, well, if I vote for him, Dan Burton might lose to a Democrat. And that's going to be the thought process, I can guarantee it. And here's what I'm going to tell you up front, so then now you can actually listen to me. And here's the honest truth. Last election, Dan Burton won 67% of voting. 2/3 against a well-funded Democrat in a year when Barack Obama won the state. Think there was Democrats voting it last time? Absolutely, right? And he only won 1/3 of the votes. And he had money from his party. This time around, the Democrat is Tim Crawford. Okay? And he does not have any support from his party. In fact, I've heard many Democrats tell me they don't even like him. They vowed to give him no money. He has $0. He hasn't even filed a Federal Election Commission report to state how much money he's raised because he doesn't have any. Okay? As a third party, I'm dominating Tim Crawford in fundraising. Okay? On a lot of polls that are being done, Tim Crawford's in the 20th percentile. Okay? He's hardly getting any votes. He's not going to break 30% guaranteed. So that leaves 70% for Dan Burton and I to argue over. If we split it down the middle, 35-35, and I win by 1 vote, did the Democrat ever have a chance? Absolutely not. It would just be a close race, 35-30. But like we said, the probability of him getting 30% is so low that you all have a chance for the first time in decades to vote according to your principles and to not vote defensively and worry about, well, Ross Perot made Bill Clinton win. Okay? And that's all I ever hear, but it's not possible in this election.
Okay? It's not true either.
What's that?
It's not true either.
Right, that's correct.
The difference were new voters that came to the polls.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. My philosophy is to simplify government. And you can see by my shirts, and I got some hats back there as well. But simplify government goes for everything that I'm about. I believe, like our founding fathers, in a truly restricted federal government. A federal government that doesn't have the power to tell us what to do or to take our property. Okay, Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence stated that we have God-ordained rights. What are they? Our God-ordained rights? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And he goes on to say the purpose of government is to protect those rights. The purpose of government is to protect your life, liberty, and your pursuit of happiness. It's not to provide your needs or to give you things because you're out of work. The purpose of government is to protect our rights. And we've got way past that, haven't we? We now think government is supposed to give us everything. Okay? And our government has swelled. And it's not just Democrats, and that's the important thing. Okay, a lot of times we just say that Democrats are big spenders. Barack Obama's spending us into oblivion. The truth is, George W. Bush spent more money than every president combined before him. That's insane, right? More money than every president before him. Now, Barack has now spent more than every president. He's on pace to spend more than every president before him, plus Bush, right? So he's an even bigger spender, but they're both big spenders, okay? Both parties are doing the same thing. They're just different sides of the coin, right? One says I'm small government, one says I'm big. What I'm telling you is that the Libertarian Party and candidates like myself believe in a truly restricted government, one that protects your freedoms and protects your pocketbook. A couple of issues I have here that I've seen this election is, number one, and you guys have probably been out of shape about as much as I am, Congress adjourned without passing a budget. Okay? Not only that, but we don't know what our taxes are going to be next year, right? They have not reissued the Bush tax cuts. We haven't preserved those. Who knows what's going to happen? More than likely, our taxes are going to skyrocket, right? Here's the problem that you hear. A lot of these politicians say, look, taxes are lower than they've been in decades. Have you guys heard that? You hear that all the time, right? Hey, quit whining. Taxes are lower than they've been in decades. In the 50s, the rich paid 90%. Well, not too many of the rich paid 90%, did they? Some did. But the truth of the matter is, if you do a quantitative analysis over the last 100 years, from 1910 to 2010, there's a huge difference in our taxes. Okay, 1910 marked a day and age when Americans, on the whole, still believed in a small government. It was before 1913, which is when we adopted the federal income tax and when we adopted the Federal Reserve, right? Now, here's my beef with the federal income tax to begin with. Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx says the second plank of communism is a progressive income tax. We take it for granted. We think, yes, that's just how it is. We got to protect the poor. But in reality, the progressive income tax doesn't even protect the poor, does it? It takes money from the wealthy, from the businesses, from the drivers of our economy. Those who create jobs have their wealth taken and therefore cannot produce jobs for the poor and the middle class. Okay, so we have a tax system that was endorsed by Karl Marx. Okay, and not only that, is our tax load over this time period has gone from 1.8% of our total economy, 16.7% of our total economy today. That's an 827% increase in taxes. So they'll lie to us till they're blue in the face, and they'll look at one little specific category and say taxes are lower because just that income tax bracket has fallen. But the truth is, as Americans, we're paying a heck of a lot more in taxes. And here's what I mean. You guys don't just pay federal income tax. You pay 6.2% for Social Security. It used to be 1%. In addition, your employer pays 6.2% on your behalf. Okay, you don't realize it, but your employer knows up front, if you make $50,000, they know the day they hire you that they're going to spend over $3,000 to pay for your Social Security. Don't you think you probably could have earned $53,000 had that tax not been in place? That's a hidden tax. See, the government likes hidden taxes, don't they? Here's another hidden tax. When we go to the store, Harvard University published this, and it's in a book called The Fair Tax. How many of you guys are familiar with the fair tax? Okay, Harvard University showed that 22 cents of every dollar that we spend, you buy Coke at McDonald's for $1. 22 cents of that was the corporation paying its taxes. See, they don't just suck up the cost of the tax, right? Why would they? They raise the price. We're already paying a 22% sales tax at the register. We get bent out of shape when we hear VAT, as we should. But we're already paying more than that, and we don't know. See, politicians know that we won't pay attention to hidden taxes. We think, yeah, stick it to corporations, they're too rich. That's what they say, right? And we think that we're getting a break, when in reality, we're getting taxed and we don't even know it. That's a problem. And that's what I'm saying is our taxing situation is out of control. The problem with that is, we've got a huge deficit, don't we? It's about $1.2 trillion. How many of you guys would like a balanced budget like I would? Okay, we need to cut expenses by 33% then. And here's my challenge to you guys. And I've said this to a lot of the Tea Parties. Is like me, you guys want lower taxes. And like me, you want a smaller government, right? But the problem is, you can't have both, right? You can't really convince the Democrats to have both at the same time right away. And that's what's been hard, right? Is we're pushing for small government and we're pushing for lower taxes and the same benefits. You can't have smaller government with the same benefits. Okay, so as a country, we need to decide, are we willing to make difficult choices to reduce our federal budget? I am. I have a lot of areas of the federal budget that I'd like to cut. And I think we could easily cut it in 1 year by 20%. Maybe we can't solve the whole 33% in a year, but I think 20% we can. One of the ways I propose to do that is congressional pay should be cut by 10% immediately. Absolutely, and that's a starting point. And here's the truth, is Dan Burton introduced legislation last year, or earlier this year actually, that said that. Did it get accepted and passed on? Absolutely not. Did he do anything else about it? No. Here's my pledge to you. Day one, I'm going to take an automatic 10% pay cut. I don't care if anyone else follows me. It's about fiscal responsibility, and if we're really serious about cutting expenses, that needs to be done at every level, starting with Congress, who makes the laws. And I'm willing to do that in order to prove my passion for a smaller government. Another thing that I'd like to address, what's my time at right now? 9 minutes, because I want to leave time for questions. In the news, we recently, about 2 weeks ago, heard the recession's over. Yes. Okay, none of you believe that. Neither do I, right? Okay, it's a joke. Okay, the problem is our definition of a recession. See, does anyone know how we define a recession? 2 declining quarters of GDP, right? GDP has to fall for 2 quarters, back to back. Well, GDP is a fudge number. It doesn't really show economic growth at all. Okay? The way you calculate GDP is you take consumer spending plus business spending plus government spending plus net exports. Well, we can agree that consumer spending is still not what it used to be, right? We can agree that business spending is just now starting to pick up. So all we have to do to tell people that we're out of a recession is have the government spend a lot of money. Did that get us out of a recession? No. It's absolutely impossible. If you're in debt, you lose your job, both you and your spouse don't have a job, that'd be like you just racking up the credit cards going, well, we still need to go on vacation. We still need cable, and we still need all these luxury items. And this is going to get me out of my problem. It's insane. Okay, we've set up different standards for our personal lives and our public lives, right? And they're contrary. And you can't run a government that way. Okay? And my big thing here is the only way that we can fix